This video is a walkthrough of the Actions module in Vtiger. We can navigate to the Actions module in a few different ways. Similar to the Tasks module, I keep the actions in my favorites bar. That'll be the top couple of different modules that are showing on the very top left-hand panel of Vtiger. And so we can either navigate to this by clicking on Actions in our favorites. We can also similarly navigate to the blue menu hamburger on the left-hand side, this blue icon. And if we select the menu, we can see actions under the Essentials category, under this middle menu actions at the very top. Seems like it only shows in Essentials here. And if we notice, the actions icon is this little bell, like in a little alert bell, that also displays in our upper right-hand corner menu on the right-hand side here. We have a number of different icons and we see the same. If we hover over the bell, it's the Actions module. So we can kind of get there three different ways, all pretty quickly, since this is considered kind of the main hub of not only inter-company communications that we can see here on the left, and also just sort of an at-a-glance view of what's coming up for you in your day or tasks that you have going on. So in general, I like to view the Actions module kind of in a similar way that I would check email. So a couple of times a day, I come and I reference this screen to see what's going on or what's coming up next, or if anybody has reached out to me in Vtiger. So once we've navigated to the Actions module, to orient you to a couple of areas of the screen, on this left-hand panel, we have the at mentions tab is first on the left. This will be essentially kind of like your intercommunications with other Navigate coworkers. For me and my work and what I do with the data entry, oftentimes a lot of my updates here are just about consultation information so that I know how to enter that into the contact record. Right now, John is seeing a lot of our consults, and so you'll notice a majority of, as we're just kind of walking through the layout of the Actions module, you'll see that John is kind of the primary person that reaches out to me currently. And so on this panel here, what it's showing is any mentions that have been shared with you since you last logged in that you haven't acknowledged yet in some kind of a way, or dismissed is how they would call it. And so this is where it starts to become really important to pay attention to sort of the finer details of the icons and what is displaying. And so in this case, John is sharing an update with me about Tiki Furdu. We can tell that this is a person because of this little purple person looking icon at the very left of the title, which is in this case contact's name. If there were some kind of a comment to you about a project or about an organization, this icon would look different. So in the case of a project, let's just double check what those look like. Projects have somewhat of a briefcase looking icon versus if you were getting a notification from Joy about a deal. It's pretty similar to a project, so again, paying attention to the finer details, but instead of it looking like this really detailed briefcase in the upper left-hand corner in projects, in the deals module, it's a briefcase with a dollar sign on it. So just paying attention to those details so that you kind of understand when you're looking at your actions and you're seeing a comment from somebody that you're orienting yourself, okay, this comment is about a contact, or this comment is about a project, or this comment is about a sales deal. And so anything that shows in this list is something that's been communicated to you since the last time that you logged in. There are a few nuances to Vtiger, and so I find it very helpful to also refresh the page every once in a while, because sometimes I will work through this at mentioned section, think I'm all caught up, hit the refresh, and find a couple more that seem to come in a little later. Some important things to note: you will continue to see these at mentions in this panel until you dismiss them. And so you do not want to click the dismiss button in this upper right hand corner until you have absolutely followed up on whatever this comment is. Otherwise, it becomes a lot more difficult to look for it. And so just an awareness that all of these are new since you've logged in. And once you've acknowledged whatever the note is, followed up in whatever action you needed to take, you'll then want to click the dismiss button in the upper right hand corner to remove that alert from the next time you log in. So it's kind of a basic overview of this left hand area when we're looking at the at mentions. The next tab over is this updates. From the most that I can tell, this updates tab only will share information with you on records that you personally are following. And then it is only when somebody leaves some form of a comment where you haven't been directly at mentioned in. So we can see here when we look at Luminous Health, again, we're seeing this kind of organization icon in the upper left-hand corner. And we can see that Joy left a comment about sort of the details when she spoke to Marcia. And when we look over at the organization record itself, we can see the differences. This was a comment left just kind of generally versus when we're using this more intercommunication at mention style. Then those notes show up in your at mentions area. So if there are certain records that you're paying attention to or certain deals that you're paying attention to, it's really important to be sure that you're following them if you would like to stay up to date with any regular updates that people are leaving just in general notes types of things. And so now that I've acknowledged the agreement to Joy's amendment or that her and Marcia are working on with Luminous Health, and I know that this is in the Luminous Health contact record area, just for an example, I'll click the dismiss, and now we can see we've cleared out our recent updates. And then the next tab over is the engagements tab. I don't often find that I have a lot of updates in this section, and I believe it is more specific to when you're following a specific contact record. We don't use this a lot currently, and so that could be something that you develop over time as you figure out your workflow. But I would say overall, the two important tabs to pay attention to on this left-hand side, especially the at mentions tab. This functions a lot like emails or quick updates between coworkers. And then this updates tab, if you're following any specific organizations or deal records that you want to be sure that you're getting a notification anytime somebody leaves a comment in that record. And then over on this right-hand side of the screen, we get a similar panel, but it's showing a couple of different pieces of information, sort of trying to set you up for like your work day. And so what we see at the very top under the My Actions on the right-hand side is today's events. This is pulling anything that you have scheduled on your calendar into Vtiger. For me, I like to keep an actual held amount of time for when I'm doing my emails so that I know I need to be sure that I'm doing 30 minutes of emailing in the morning to catch up on everything that might have come in from the day before. And so some people might see that as a task, but for me, I like to be sure I'm blocking the actual amount of time I need to reply to an email. And so I know I took care of that this morning, and so I will just mark these events as held. Marking events as held is particularly important if you or Joy are tracking any kind of piece of information about a sales call or a potential sales call. Instead of just leaving them as scheduled, marking them held or rescheduled can help give you some information or some clues when you're looking back on a certain sales deal to know what transpired over the time of that relationship. If I had any tasks that were due today, they really conveniently show up right here. And then any tasks or alerts that I have, excuse me, so if I have any tasks to do today from the tasks module, that will show up here. Alerts are more like automated, still can be a task or some kind of a reminder related to, so for this case, we can, I believe, click on it here. We can see here that I need to check the deals pipeline for a specific contact, and if they aren't in the deal pipeline, then I need to add a new one. This might actually be something that you take over in the future, but I've been doing now. So a good example to note, and we can see over on the right-hand view of this alert, this would be related to Angela Trussell. And so once we've done this action step and we're all set to go, we would dismiss it, and that would clear it out of this today's alerts section. And then down at the bottom here, I haven't customized this for myself too much, but you could add different lists that you have. And so you can just easily select a module and then pick any of the custom views you may have created. And so if there's a specific list from, the deals records or the organization's records that you're keeping an eye on regularly, you can just add those lists here so that you can quickly click through and then see, here are all my outstanding tasks that I have right now. It does look like there's a bit of a discrepancy between the number there and what is actually showing, so I wouldn't worry too much about that. But if you're just looking for an easy way to click through and reference different, now I'm looking at team all deals, if I just want to quickly go to the all contacts. So this section is really helpful just to add anything that you're regularly referencing in the form of a viewed list so that you can click through if you have a number of things you're checking on during the day and get to those easily. Similarly, on this right-hand panel, we can see that it's giving us an upcoming view of what events we have today or tasks that are due today. It does have this overdue button as well. And so if you needed to double check, oh, have I missed something or forgotten to do something from earlier in the week, you can also simply click on the overdue button and it will give you an at a glance, in this case, all of our overdue events, things that we might not have marked held or completed. And so you could review the previous week and as part of your workflow, clean that up if needed. And in a similar way, we could look at today's tasks and click on the overdue tasks button, and we can see here that I have one progress report template that I still need to create for UVA Community Health. When we click on any of these overdue buttons, it gives us a sort of a high-level glance of the task or the event or the alert. And then if we need to open the record up for some deeper details, we can just click on the title. And now we see here, oh, this was due back in November, I better get on it. And then it's a create a progress report template. And over here in this corner, from that one view that we've talked about in the past, under the organization, we can see this is for UVA Community Health. And so, in my workflow, this would probably be the next thing I work on since it's overdue. And otherwise, we can see, I'm mostly caught up on my tasks for today, and I next have a task due tomorrow. And that is just the very basic overview of this actions module. Is when you're in the at mentions tab on this left-hand side. Let's say we have dismissed or cleared a notification and we're looking to find something from the past or recall a record that we worked on recently. Maybe we dismissed it by accident, or we're looking for that record again and can't remember how else to find it. There is this search for notification bar on the left-hand side under the mentions tab, and it includes a drop-down menu. And so you could either, if you knew that this information came from Joy or John, you could simply just click on their username and click search. And then it would share, here's some good examples of the last thing Joy sent to me was about a deal with Brittany Culp. And we can see it's that briefcase, but with the money sign, otherwise the contact record. This is about Luminous Health with an organization icon. And so if we were looking for something from a month ago or a couple of days ago and we knew for sure that it came from Joy, you could just look at every single comment that she had left recently by searching specifically in the notification area for comments from Joy. Otherwise, you could look for, if you knew you weren't mentioned on it, but you saw that Giancarlo had been mentioned on the record, then you could search for what are all the different comments that were left or at mentions that included Giancarlo. Another example, if you knew there was a certain word in it and you knew it said luminous, but you weren't sure about anything else, you could again look for luminous health, and we're seeing the last comment that Joy left for me and some more inner exchanges with luminous health. And then lastly, if you knew, maybe not necessarily in the contact record or the organization record itself, but within the actual comment, it had the word, maybe private for private loans or something of that nature, then we could enter in just a specific word, and then it'll pull up every at mention that's been left for you that includes the word private. And so it's very handy if you're trying to pull something up and you couldn't exactly remember when, but you knew some context clues. Again, if it had happened on a certain day. I know I saw that comment on the 8th, but I can't remember what it was, and now I can't find it. We could search and see, oh, Giancarlo left me an at mention on the 8th. So the search bar can be really handy if you accidentally dismiss anything before you were ready to tackle it, or if you were working on that record in the future and were having a hard time remembering the name of the person or some specific detail, but you knew it came, from a person or on a certain day, or it included this organization. There's a couple of different ways to slice and dice that information to be able to pull up what you're looking for.